We'll call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. It's great to have a full house again, and we'll start with the adoption of the minutes from October the 14th. Could I have a motion? Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, then we'll call the question. All those in favor? No one's opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Resolution to amend the agenda. Is there anything to amend the agenda tonight?
We have the two items from earlier this morning. The first is a recommendation for the Committee of the Whole that needs affirmation of council, and the second is just a release from an in-camera meeting.
Great, so we'll get to those later on. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. And one thing that I did not add, and I just want to apologize, several citizens signed a petition regarding the new cement barrier that's out on Prairie Valley going up towards Cartwright. And this is the area where the new sidewalk is. And there have been several complaints, and I just want to say that I think that several of us had not expected it to look the way it does. So the one thing that we've asked staff to do is to talk it over with themselves, make sure that they check with the school. I think the PAC meetings, as well as I'm going to ask our CAO. Anybody else I'm missing that they're going to talk to about that before any decisions are made, whether it stays or goes or whatever happens?
Yeah, it was focused on the school with its safety issues, so that's we're going to try and get some more information for council and bring a full report back.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. Okay, so it's been a busy couple of weeks for all of us around the council table, and I want to start by thanking Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Robson for attending the Diwali celebration this past Saturday, Councillor Robson for attending the strategic planning session at the RDOS last week, and to Councillor Waterman for attending the first anniversary of BC Transit this past Friday. Thank you for representing the mayor on my behalf. Since our last meeting, I've given presentations on council goals and objectives to the Summerland's Art Council, the Chamber of Commerce, the Kiwanis Club, and I missed it, it was actually, as well as the Kiwanis Club, the Kinsman Club, and the executive members of the Summerland Alliance Church. If your organization would like a presentation, please call Karen Jones at Municipal Hall. I attended the opening of the new kitchen at the Royal Canadian Legion, so congratulations to all of the members, and many thanks to our MLA Dan Ashton and our MP Dan Albus. The grant the Legion received was for renovations to their kitchen that will give them the ability to hold larger functions and give the volunteers and staff the food options they've never had before. So this is great news for everyone. I should just say I was there when they cooked 12 pies in 15 minutes. It's a good operation. I got to welcome the regional conference for the BC Healthcare Auxiliaries last Friday and speak to a full room of attendees that were here for a 2-day session. Thank you to Wes Campbell, the president, and Barrett Hack of the Summerland Healthcare Auxiliary for the invitation. Many of us watched the ospreys nesting in Summerland. One nest is in the Trout Creek area and the other is on Hespeler Road. Well, now there are 2 more new nests. Our thanks to the staff carpenter in the Works Division who built the 2 platforms on poles, and to the utility and to the electrical utility crew who placed the poles in Trout Creek areas. Thanks as well to Devin Vandermeulen and Martin Stam for their work to make this project happen, and I'll ask Don Darling if you could just pass along our thanks. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Brenda Ingram and all of the staff in the Parks and Recreation Department, and especially the aquatic staff for all of their help and creative ideas to host the Halloween haunt this past weekend. With the help of 35 volunteers, they saw 350 children and gave them an awesome, safe Halloween party at the pool and fitness center. This event takes months of planning and organizing above and beyond the day-to-day operation. So thank you to everyone involved. And finally, I think that we all realize that in this day and age, the price of freedom is often at a terrible cost. The tragedy of last week's shooting in Ottawa was a reality check for all of us. The outstanding bravery of the Sergeant-at-Arms, the security staff, and the RCMP helped to keep our own MP, Dan Albus, along with all of the Canada's members of Parliament and government staff, safe during a horrific and tragic shooting. The loss of life for that young soldier is a terrible tragedy for our entire country. I would like to thank our MP, Dan Albus, for letting us know that he was safe and for returning to work the very next day. Thank you for representing us, Dan. And that's my report. I'll ask our CAO if you have a report.
No report tonight.
Okay, so we'll move right in then to Development Services Department reports. And I'll ask Ian McIntosh, our director. Councillor Hacking.
I have a family member who's a principal in discussion for this item, so I'll recuse myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Did you get that as
Yes.
far as the notes? Thank you so much, and we'll come and get you as soon as it's over. Thank you for letting us know.
Maybe.
We will come and get you, Councillor Hackey.
Just before we.
Okay, Ian McIntosh, if you could take us through this zoning bylaw text amendment, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. An application has been received by the Development Services Department to allow a recreation service indoor as a use on the Summerland Builders Mart property. And that property is zoned heavy commercial. One of two properties zoned heavy commercial in the district of Summerland. You can see that one is the Builders Mart on the north side of Jubilee Road here, and the other is the old fruit packing co-op on the south side of Jubilee Road. And they are both designated as service commercial on our official community plan. And a rezoning to allow recreation service indoor into that zone is not supported in our community plan. And as council well knows, any rezoning that we entertain must comply with our official community plan. So the service commercial designation on our OCP, and this is wording straight out of our community plan, is only intended to recognize and accommodate existing operations that require substantial storage needs. And it notes that the community may work towards relocation of these services in the long term to other locations where outdoor storage is less of a concern. And it further goes on to state that uses shall be restricted to home improvement centers and indoor storage facilities. So if council is prepared to entertain other uses as we transition forward in the community, there is a section in the Local Government Act that allows local governments to have temporary use permit areas. And those are areas set out in the zoning bylaw that says these are areas where temporary use permits can be issued. They can be issued by a resolution of council after the suitable notice period. They're good for a 3-year term, and they can be extended once by council resolution for a second 3-year term. And after that, a new application is required if the use wants to continue beyond that. So this zoning amendment application in front of you tonight is to add the temporary use permit areas and add the CM zone to those areas. Right now, the zoning bylaw has a temporary use permit area for all lands zoned A1 and A2 in the agricultural land reserve, and those are to allow temporary campgrounds. And we've issued one of those permits to the Dickinson Farm a few years ago. So this is going to expand that temporary use permit area to include the two properties noted before, which are the only lands in Summerland that are zoned CM. Further to that, if the bylaw passes, it'll have to go through the public hearing process 2 weeks from now, and if the bylaw passes, at that meeting there will be an application on council's docket to issue a temporary use permit to the Summerland Builders Mart to allow recreation indoor as a use on that site. And the official community plan is envisioning that there will be a change, that these uses are fairly temporary in our community plan's future plan. Who knows what may go there, but we are anticipating that there will be a Parks and Rec master plan done in the near future that may speak to some of these sites. But in the interim, it doesn't seem reasonable to not allow other suitable uses to go into these properties. So the solution on staff's perspective is to allow these as temporary use permit areas. Then council has the discretion to allow uses on short-term basis. They can not renew them if they want, if there's another use that is more appropriate for those sites. So that is the application before council tonight, and it is with staff support.
Can you just give us some background about how this came forward to the table?
It came forward because there was an application to actually put a tenant or a potential tenant into the Summerland Builders Mart in the old Sears section, which is the east side of the building. And that would require a zoning amendment. And when we researched the community plan, a zoning amendment is not supported and would require significant policy change in the community plan. So the temporary use permit solution appears to support the future use that the community has or the future vision, but allows some transitional use in the meantime until we get there.
And the owners of the property are feeling, the owners beside and so forth?
We have contacted the fruit co-op. We have not heard back anything from those folks.
Okay.
Obviously, the owners of the Builders Mart are the ones who precipitated the application,
Okay.
and they're in support.
Okay. Got some questions here. Councillor Waterman and then
Sure,
Councillor
I'd like to
Holmquist.
bring the recommendation forward, Your Worship.
Sure, sure.
Recommendation that bylaw 2014-029 to amend section 7.1 of zoning bylaw 2004-50 to add the CM zone as a temporary use area shown as Schedule B, be given first reading and proceed to public hearing, and that a temporary use permit be considered for approval should the aforementioned zoning bylaw amendment be adopted. Authorizing the temporary commercial use of recreation service indoor at Lot 1, District Lot 473, Plan 35935, located at 9310 Jubilee Road.
Okay, if I could have a seconder, please. Thank you. Second, did you want to comment on it first?
Yes.
Please.
I find this quite interesting, and it does move us forward, as our planner was saying, that this is the type of use that may be seen in this area. And I guess it's a move by the builders mark themselves to affect some change in what's happening with their building, and to bring in extra revenue as far as they're concerned. But also to have a new facility in town and is good as well.
Great. Okay, Councillor Holquist.
So I'm not so concerned about this piece of property with this temporary use permit, because we kind of have an idea what's being proposed. But I'm more concerned about the much bigger facility across the street in terms of what it opens up for them to be able to do. So the same conditions are applied to there, but must open the floodgates to the different bunches of uses, right, that they can apply for?
I wouldn't categorize it quite that way, Your Worship, but there is a lot of floor space in that particular building. That's the Fruit Co-op, and we have had a number of phone calls over the years for what might be allowed on that property. As you've seen, the zoning is very specific. The OCP is also very specific, and we've had people come in and request rezonings on that parcel. And I think the temporary commercial use permit reflects that there could be a lot of uses that could go into that building. If anybody wants to affect one of those, they're going to have to come to council. They're going to have to ask for a temporary use permit. Council can weigh those on the merits of each case, and if they choose to issue a permit, it's a 3-year permit. So if things don't work out, they can be discontinued, or they can be continued at council's whim. So it's, in staff's opinion, it's a way to allow some use of those buildings in the interim, but on a very tight leash, if you like.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Yep.
We talked about this at length this morning, and so, you know, it's almost too bad because we got a lot of the excitement out about it at that time, and I think this is one of the best situations that we could have where we open up opportunities. And so we're not really sure what will come along. We certainly know for the one facility what the plans are, but we don't know what the possibilities could be for the future for the other. And it is temporary, so that doesn't necessarily tie anybody's hands, but it gives them an opportunity to rethink what are our options, what creative changes could we make. And I think this is an outstanding move, and I'm thrilled to vote for it. So, Councillor Christopherson.
Yes, I think this is a good solution to not having another vacant business in town. It's
Absolutely.
it's something that is very temporary, and if this doesn't work out, then the owners of the property are free to go ahead and maybe solicit another similar business. And so it's not written in stone. If this does not work out, then it improves their options. And so I was supporting this because, as I say, we got enough vacant buildings in town.
That's right. And you know, just a point, I mean, can other areas do this? I mean, this was an opportunity that came forward because this particular business was looking for this, but is this something that we're open to on a regular basis, just to give people background?
Your Worship, I would say no, not really.
Okay.
This is a situation where where the community plan is very specific and very limiting on the uses that are currently there, and the zoning, which is a quasi-industrial zone. And while we wait for those buildings to transition to a more permanent use that might be determined in the next few years, it doesn't sterilize the buildings. It gives them an opportunity to come to council and ask for interim uses.
Good.
But the way these things should work in the normal course of events is the community plan sets the vision, landowners come in and get the appropriate zoning, and the zoning limits to certain uses, and that's a more normal situation. So we wouldn't suggest that the entire district be subject to commercial use permits, and we issue those on 3-year.
Okay, good.
And normally,
Good
3
start.
years isn't really enough to warrant a significant investment in a building or such.
That's right. But it gives, it certainly gives an opportunity for this business to try it, and if it goes well, get that that second opportunity for another 3 years.
Absolutely, it does
Yes.
give a lot more flexibility in these transitional areas.
Okay, Councillor Robson.
So this temporary use permit is for a recreational facility. If the recreational facility doesn't pan out, do they have to come back to us again for the purpose of advising us what they plan to do with the building next?
If they want to put another recreational use in there, that would be fine. If they want a use that's not authorized by the permit or authorized by the zoning, then they would have to come back to council and ask for another one.
Thank you.
Okay, now this goes to public hearing at the next council meeting on November the 10th.
That's correct.
And I certainly hope that the applicant will tell us a little more information about what they're planning, and just a subtle hint. Okay, all right. Councilor Waterman, did you want to make a
Yeah,
comment?
I just wanted
please?
to add that I think, you know, the idea of a 3-year temporary use is a good one, but I'm looking forward to the aspect that these people should have and likely have done a business plan and looked at what their future is, and that we'll be looking at another 3 years, in 3
Oh,
years.
hope so.
I'm, you know, want to wish them every success, because I think they've seen an opening, and it's likely that they see something positive, so.
Well, we want to keep open-minded because the public hearing will be the next
Yeah,
council
of
meeting.
course, yeah.
So we want to make sure that we hear the public, but boy, on first blush, it certainly is a good reason to vote for it at this stage and see how it goes forward. Okay, I'm going to call the wish of council. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Well done. Thank you so much. Actually, we can maybe call Robert back in, please. Nice and quick. Okay. We're under now the staff and other reports, 7.1, which is the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole, and this is the Fire Department Training Facility. And our Fire Chief, Glenn Noble, is going to give us some background information and a recap from this morning's meeting. Good to have you, Glenn.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Good.
Oh, Ian, do we have the?
Oh.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. Obviously, I was here this morning, so this is a much reduced presentation than it was this morning, so we'll try and move through it quickly, but to give the people in the audience an overview of what we're doing and where we're going. So, there we go. So, in 2012, we came to council with a proposal to develop a fire training center for the use of our firefighters in Summerland, and over that time we've been working to find a location that will work, and the rationale behind us having a training center is to ensure the safe work environment for our firefighters by providing them quality, realistic training and training sessions. The current training we do is good quality training, but we're restricted by the facilities we use to train in. So being the ballparks and the parking lots and the various areas around town and pretending a tree is a building and those types of struggles we have. So we want to move our training to a higher standard, and to do that we need to move forward. Training requirements for auxiliary firefighters or paid on call or volunteer, whichever you like to call them, do not differ from those of career firefighters. And I think the general public tends to not realize that. So if you're a firefighter, you're a firefighter. And you need to train as one, and you need to train in the same standard. The province has recently introduced a new training standard for all firefighters in the province, and that is in its infancy, and it's just being worked out at this time. So again, the requirements for training will increase significantly. The development of a training center will aid in our recruitment and retention of our firefighters, of our auxiliary force. And our guys love to train, and I think you know that from the statistics we provide. But the more you can provide them realistic training, they're hands-on people, and they need those tools and those props and those facilities to get proper training. and to empower them and to make them want to stay. I talked briefly about current locations and more so an overview of the challenges we do have for training and where we train, existing buildings. We beat up the walls and the halls of the fire hall, and we rely on public businesses to allow us to use their facilities, and we beat them up. And firefighters tend to be kind of rough, rambunctious group of people. So something that we will have that is our own will be a benefit. This is a typical training building. They're made out of shipping containers. They're relatively inexpensive. You can configure them in many fashions. This is one in Abbotsford. This would not be what ours would look like, but it's similar in design. This is the site we're looking at, and it is a piece of municipal land. It is immediately east of the old sawmill site on Bland Street and Cedar Avenue. It's about a 5.5 acre site, and we would utilize approximately 2 acres of that site for a training facility. As we zoom in, you can see there, that is the area closer in, and it's showing the training building, a training prop area, and a classroom potentially down the road. The site benefits, it's municipally owned and zoned industrial. There's less site preparation required compared to some potential other sites we looked at. The location of the site is sheltered from view, and sometimes training grounds aren't that nice to look at, so being somewhat sheltered will be of a benefit. Training props and things like that. And it is still located near the downtown core and will not hamper response to incidents while we're there and while we're training, as opposed to having one further out of town. And as we look at the cost to develop this is now a 3-year plan, being in 2014 is where we are. And we're showing a total build out over the next 3 years of $372,183 approximately, with estimates and such. So that's where we're at, and I guess that's what we're here tonight asking council to approve.
Okay, so we'll take some questions and discussion. Councillor Robson to start.
Thank you, Your Worship. Chief Noble, would you go back to that slide that shows there? Where would the access be into that property?
So the access would be off Bland Street, which
Can you
is
show us
on
that?
the north corner, right there.
Right there.
And the
So
road,
that's-
the existing road does travel right up to that.
And that's
property.
behind the Gorman Mill.
That would be on the north side of the Gorman Mill, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Questions? We again, one of these that we talked about at length this morning, but a good discussion. We've been talking about this now for, at least 2 years. And one of the things that you explained this morning that I thought was an important note was that when you train on Wednesday night, you have approximately how many hours that you train?
2.5 hours.
So if you have to go to another training facility in Peachland or Penticton, suddenly you've got an hour's worth of traveling time between the there and the back. And so it really cuts. So having this available for our needs is a huge step forward.
Yeah, Your Worship, that's the reality of it. And joint training facilities are great in tighter communities where they're closer. There are struggles with them, though. All of them have their struggles. Scheduling becomes huge issues. Who gets it on the Wednesday night?
Yeah.
And we need something for our members that is here all the time that we can use when we need it.
You
Just
do
to-
go to Vernon, though, you do go to Vernon for some of your live fire training, is that
Yeah,
correct?
Your Worship. So this
Yes.
won't provide us with that opportunity to do live fire.
Okay.
Those costs are a bit more
Prohibitive, okay.
prohibitive. So we would still use Vernon or maybe the potential Penticton site as it gets developed for live fire.
Okay. Tom, Day, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to add, I think the most important thing about out-of-town training is that if there's a fire while they're training, while the whole crew's training, that means they're
Exactly.
the 20 minutes from Penticton or the 30, 40 minutes from Peachland to respond. So that's where they're impractical. The live fire that Glenn talks about, that's sending a couple, 2 to 4 people at a time when they reach that certificate. So
Yes, well said.
this is for the whole crew being able to train and being available to respond should an emergency exist.
Good comments. Councillor Christopherson,
I'd
Van
like to put
Alphen,
the
and
resolution on the
please,
table
thank
and
you.
speak to it.
Thank you.
So moved that council direct staff to proceed with with construction of the fire training facility as outlined in option 2 of the fire chief's staff report dated October the 20th, 2004,
2014.
2014. sorry.
Seconder, please. Seconder, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor
Yes,
Christopherson.
I would like to commend our fire chief for being proactive on this and taking the initiative to start the process for this building, because we could not meet the new standards with the existing situation. And so I would like to commend him for taking this initiative, and I congratulate you for it.
Okay, Councillor Van Alphen, Robson, Hacking, and then Hallquist.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say that we have had this discussion around the table for a long period of time now, and I am absolutely thrilled that it's getting to this point. We're very fortunate here in Summerland with our volunteer fire crew and the leadership. And, you know, I mean, a lot of other communities have full-time fire crews, and it reflects on taxes in a big way. So we're very fortunate here. This training facility, I believe in the future, will help retain and entice new volunteer members to join up with our crew. And it's not just fire training, there's also, you know, our volunteers are also first responders in automotive accidents, situations on the highway, and there's an opportunity here to have props such as cars where they can dismantle or use the jaws of life. Also training on airbags and different things that can be a hazard to the members. And I think these are huge opportunities to train our people, and I commend Chief Noble for getting us to this point. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Robson.
The thing that I was pleased with, Your Worship, was the fact that we've been setting aside this funding for the last 3 years, and we have a reserve in place of $422,000 with a $50,000 increase this year. So that was well planned out, and I thank the chief for doing that and bringing it to our attention before it became necessary. The hazards that we deal with today with dangerous goods is significant, and I think it's important that our volunteers are provided the best training that they can get, and I think this is a great step in making that possible. Thank you.
Good comments. Councillor Hacking.
Echo a lot of what's been said, but when we first were made aware in 2012 of this proposal, and then throughout the process we added it to our municipal goals and objectives for the 2014 year. The initial proposals were quite expensive, to be honest, and I'm glad to see that through some additional research and study, we've come in with a proposal that is significantly less expensive, allowing us to accomplish this facility in our reserve budget. And we're able to do that right now instead of waiting a couple more years to save up.
Excellent comments. Councillor Hallquist.
So something along the lines of what Councillor Hacking just mentioned, I think this is a really good example of a process of sort of second thought in terms of location and costs and everything like that, because when the original proposal, we talked about the original proposal, we're talking about a cash outlay of just about double what we were talking about now. And and as it turns out, they've come up with a better location. So I think that's a really good example of not rushing into something and taking some time to consider these things. So I also have to say that having spent a few years as a volunteer, I wish that,
35.
well, a little more than that, but anyways.
38.
I wish that we would have had, an opportunity and a chance to have these facilities. And I concur wholeheartely with our fire chief. I think it will do nothing but enhance the service and entice more volunteers, which we're always in need of. It always seems to be a revolving door. And so I just want to commend Glenn for the initiative to get this going, and I'm happy to support the proposal.
Councillor Hallquist, I apologize for pushing you, but you asked an excellent question this morning about funding for fire trucks and so forth. I wondered if you would bring that up
Well, I
again.
mean, that is a separate issue. I wasn't aware, but we do have a separate, I knew we had some reserves set aside for funding of fire trucks, because they're not cheap these days to buy. But this turns out to be a different reserve fund, so we're not depleting that fund when it comes to replacing fire equipment, so we're winning on both sides here.
Good comments. Okay. Councillor Waterman.
Thank you, Worship. Through to the fire chief, I believe your 372,000 plus, with that number on it, includes a classroom, but you're not actually going to be doing that for a period of time. What was the amount for the classroom? 50,000 or?
Your worship,
Or
the
70.
classroom, we're showing at roughly 75,000.
Okay, so that actually comes off the initial, the actual quote we've got for down the road. Do you anticipate doing that classroom? How soon would you think you might be doing that, or at all?
Yeah, your worship, the plan in front of you shows it in 2016, but I think similar to what Councillor Hallquist said earlier, we'll need to review that and see how the site works and how it flows and what our needs will be. So while we wanted to show that in the cost of total build-out, I guess that question is for a later date.
Yeah, so at this point, really, you're looking at much closer to 300,000 for the cost as opposed to 372.
Right, and there is a contingency built
Yeah.
into that as well, your worship,
Yes.
for civil works and
Yeah, okay,
such.
thank you.
I think, Councillor Waterman, I think even, Glenn, you said today there might even be other opportunities for ATCO buildings that may have been used and that kind of thing, so there may be
Yeah,
other
your worship,
options.
I mean, that's a new build of one, so again, we
Yeah.
wanted to put worst-case scenario in there, and that's that number, so.
Yeah, so even at, I gather, even at that, with the price we have, which is almost half of what some of the other quotes were
Yes.
for other options, that this actually comes in much lower at the present time anyway, which I think is worth noting. Thank you.
Yes. Any other hands? All right. Oh, Councillor Van Alphen?
Just one further point. I know what was mentioned this morning, but I know when people, taxpayers, residents of the community dial 911, they expect
Well said.
professional service to show up at their door, and we all take that for granted. We don't realize all the time and effort that these volunteers put into our community. They train hard. They go out of town on their own time to be trained to become volunteer fire people. And like I say, I know if I phone 911, I'm pretty rest assured that some professional people are going to show up at my door to help me. And for that, I am grateful. Thank you.
Well said. Glenn, you said today that you've, with training out in different areas, occasionally you've had some complaints from people about the noise and that kind of thing, and that surprised me. I always think, wow, this is exactly what you want to see as training. And I could just imagine the kids must love to come and watch the guys working in their uniforms and just to see them at work. So I imagine you'll have crowds up there. We'll have to get you some bleachers to have the kids watch you.
We didn't, bleachers aren't in the budget. Your
Oh,
worship.
darn. Oh, okay. We'll worry about that one later. All right, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Well done, Glenn.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so much. All right, next item on the agenda is the gravel lease. This is the second item on the agenda. I'll turn it over to our CAO, Tom Day.
Thank you. This is the final outcome of an RFP that we issued the spring of this year. Council gave staff clear instruction in their 2014-2015 goals and objectives that one of this council's priorities was to seek alternate revenue sources aside from the taxpayer, and to focus any of those realized revenue sources on infrastructure replacement. And so our Director of Works and Utilities presented to Council an idea that we had extensive gravel reserves. Council will recall that we funded that study, I think, actually in the previous year, and found that indeed we have extensive gravel reserves in excess of many hundreds of years worth of our needs in the area surrounding the landfill. And so we brought to Council the idea that we would do an RFP, and Council approved, and that took place in the spring, as I said. At that RFP, it was a public request for proposals. We had a meeting of proponents. We had in the range of about 5 different proponents attend that meeting. And in the end, once the RFP closed, we had two formal proposals in response to our request for proposals. A number of months ago, we brought the summary of those. They were quite different, in fact, and required some detailed look. And we brought that to council, and council directed us to negotiate with what we had recommended as a preferred proponent, being Cantex Okanagan Construction Limited, based out of Penticton. Don Darling and I have been in negotiations with Cantex over the last number of months, and we've arrived at a lease that satisfies both parties. It's clear that the district entered into this proposal so that we could make some money, aside from taxation, to put into infrastructure. And it's also clear that to be successful, Cantex needs to make money. So it's got to be a business-based relationship. And so we believe that lease does that. The lease is actually, I think, extremely good news for the taxpayers of Summerland. So we anticipate if gravel sales proceed as suggested, that our total revenues per year would be in the range of $90,000 per year of additional revenue. And that consists of a $50,000 flat lease fee, property taxes paid by Cantex, and a royalty fee of $1.25 per ton that would be payable to the municipality. And we expect that on an average sale year, the amount of gravel that would be sold would be in the, outside of us buying it, would be in the range of 30,000 tons. And the royalty fee then would generate some $37,500 a year. So in total, in the range of $90,000 per year, including lease fee, property taxes, and royalty fees. The terms of this lease, the lease is a 20-year term. The terms of the lease, I guess to check on whether we're still in the market, basically, can be reviewed every 5 years within that 20-year time frame. Council directed staff today to ensure that those revenues were put into a reserve that would be reserved for infrastructure replacement, and council will see a report on that from our Director of Financial Services on Thursday night, or Thursday afternoon when we hold our special council meeting. And so the intent as well is not just to raise these revenues for a 20-year period. The intent why we're doing the lease and not selling the property is that once the gravel's extracted, the property be rehabilitated so that it's useful for a second use. And at that time, again, the taxpayers will benefit from that. So the council of the day will be able to either lease that for some form of industrial or other use, or in fact sell it if that's the best the market. So really, it is a two-tiered opportunity for revenue, the current $90,000 and then a long-term benefit for a future use. And so the lease, council actually approved that today, so council doesn't need to approve it, but council directed it be released to the public today, and here to answer any questions that council may have at the public forum. The reason why it was dealt in camera is the community charter says that land issues should be dealt with in camera to ensure that council has free reign to discuss it.
Start date?
The start date that's a good question. So Cantex, in order to operate I'm not supposed to say gravel pit, am I, Don? A gravel quarry, they need a permit from the province, the Ministry of Mines, and so the lease doesn't take effect until they get that permit. As one of the reasons we shortlisted Cantex is because they've got extensive experience in this type of issue and extensive experience in obtaining these permits, and you know, we're confident that'll happen in good time.
Councillor Hallquist and then Councillor Hacking.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, for that. You were good, said a lot of the things I was going to say.
Sorry.
But you said it much better, and that's just great. Anyhow, I would just like to say that I'm really happy and very supportive of these kinds of initiatives. I've long been a proponent of trying to find an alternate revenue sources for this municipality to help offset the long or aging, I guess, our aging capital infrastructure, and I think this is a good way to partly do that rather than from general taxation. But I just want to say that, this is just one of many opportunities that, and we need to, keep exploring these opportunities, because we do have, real estate and other things that we can take advantage of as I always call it the taxpayer savings accounts. And, but we need to start to realize on some of those, on some of those opportunities. And I think it's a win-win situation when you not only get, the current revenues and so on, but we end up with something that, in terms of a reclamation project that goes on for other uses and more income. So I think it's really good. As well as, it's another goal that we've fulfilled for this council for 2014.
Well
Check that one
said.
off.
Well said. Councillor Hacking, Waterman, Christopherson, and Van Alphen.
Okay, just quickly, because this is going to be a question for most of the public, is we got a spreadsheet this afternoon that outlined what kind of truck traffic impact there was, and I just have Dawn just summarize that for me if you're able to.
Your Worship, I just took a look at, we were projecting 30,000 tons a year, and based on that and the weight per ton for gravels, and it varies, and so like this is a conservative number, so like it could be less than this, but if they only did it by dump truck, which is 7 cubic meters a load, there'd be about 9.8 round trips per day going up and down Prairie Valley Road. And that's based on 250 days of operation, and which is assuming that Cantex is not working weekends or stats. If they used a dump truck with a pup, so they're hauling 13 cubic meters at a time, the round trips would fall to 5.3 per day. And I talked to Cantex, and they said that there'd probably be a 50-50 split between the two. So they'd be hauling single trucks and then truck and pups 50% of the time. So that works out to 10 cubic meters on average per load. So we're expecting about 7 round trips per day going up and down Prairie Valley Road. And it doesn't include DOS gravels, but we already, we do that anyway throughout the year, so I didn't include that. So we're seeing an increase of about 7 round trips per day.
One of my point is, for the amount of revenue the district's going to see, I think it's going to, we're not even going to notice the trucks compared to the amount of logging trucks that come out of the hill already.
Oh, absolutely. And then they start early in the morning, that's for sure. Good point. Councillor Waterman.
Thank you, Worship. I think, what should be noted in terms of revenue, as a revenue stream, it's the equivalent of about a 1.33 tax, property tax. So, that's it's a
Good
reasonable,
addition.
especially
Yeah.
the other thing is this is a stable source. We're talking about years and years of at least this amount. So if there were more sales than the amount that we've estimated, then there'd be more revenue to the municipality. Of course, there could be less if things really went in a downturn in terms of the construction industry. But to have something stable over at least say 20 years is going, and perhaps a lot longer, is a pretty consistent revenue stream for the municipality. So, and as has been pointed out here already, if it's dovetailed into a reserve for infrastructure, then all the better, because after a few years we would have enough money there to deal with some of the renovations that are required.
Good point. Councillor Christopherson.
This morning, I expressed my concern about the reclamation, because there's always a different perspective between the lesser and the lessee. But after reading through it and the explanation that our CEO gave us, that there are so many safeguards that are built into it, and consequences for not abiding by the agreement that we have, that I have absolutely no concern now as far as reclamation.
Just perhaps to reiterate for the community, so the integral part of the permit is in fact the reclamation plan, and so the government requires that, and it ensures that by requiring a reclamation bond, and so it does have to be reclaimed, and within the lease, it clearly says that the District of Summerland has to pre-approve that plan. So the discussion, and we're quite comfortable that Cantex is going to be an excellent lessee, but the discussion, they're very well aware that it is council's intention that there will be second use of the site, and so that the site has to be reclaimed to facilitate next uses.
I couldn't have said it any better.
That was good. Okay, Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I'm excited. It's been a long time coming. I know these leases take a lot of work. There's been there was quite a few opponents that looked at this property, and Cantex was awarded the contract. As this morning's discussion, I believe we were talking earlier about Cantex is looking at taking recyclables, and I'm talking concrete, waste, into the site for reclamation, for crushing and recycling of concrete. So that's good news to some of our contractors here locally. I'm excited about the alternative revenue source, other than taxation. This is a win-win, I think, for the residents of Summerland. It gets some money into our reserves for future infrastructure upgrades, and the exciting part of this is the reclamation.
Yes.
There's so many uses. If you look across from the airport in Kelowna, that was a large gravel extraction operation once upon a time, still is. And there's some beautiful businesses and industrial sites and what have you there, hotel across from the airport. This one also, there's more than just industrial uses. There could be agricultural uses on the reclamation land, such as greenhouse operations, what have you. Silviculture. So, I mean, it'll be up to the council of the day, I guess, to figure out what's going to be the best use for the citizens of Summerland. So it's an exciting proposal. Thank you.
Well said. Would you like to put it on the table? Councillor Robson, good, please, if you'd read that. Thank you.
That council direct the mayor and corporate officer to execute the lease agreement on behalf of the district, subject to appropriate notice being first given under section 26 of the community charter, and no objection or counter offer being received by the district within 5 business days after each notice.
Seconder, please. Thank you.
Did we not do
Councillor.
this, in the ink?
We approved of it in the in-camera, but we are bringing it forward to the community tonight. So it's just to bring that out in the open. If I can just ask a couple of questions. I remember us laughing about when we did that management plan about the gravel, and if you could just, my understanding was 3,300 years worth of gravel for the community. It was some, we had no idea how much there was there.
It was a huge number, but your
Yeah.
memory is obviously better than mine.
Well, I am a little younger.
3,300
Oh, no.
years.
No, there was 3,300. It was
Yeah.
3,300.
3,300 years?
3,300 years.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, it
we
was,
might-
yeah,
we
yeah.
might not
I've
be
actually
at
got
that
that.
time.
I was hoping you'd say it just to, just to, and so the lease is for how many years? How many years are we looking at?
It's a 20-year lease,
Yeah,
and
just give us those particulars. 5 years?
Yeah, every 5 years, the financials can be reviewed.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, that was it.
That was it? Okay. Councillor Hallquist.
Just one further comment, if I may. We haven't touched on it, and I'm sure there'll be, I know there's been questions asked already in the community, and that's about
Yes.
the life of our landfill. And this will not affect the life of our landfill.
No.
It doesn't infringe on it. It's not, although it's close to it, but I know there was that concern to start with, and not saying we've skirted the issue, but nobody mentioned anything around the table here, but it has no effect on our landfill at all.
No. Any
The-
final thoughts?
I would just add that, in fact, the potential exists that if council of the day determined that they wanted to expand the landfill, it will make it easier because there will be
Yes.
space to do that. So in fact, it's a benefit to the landfill if the council of that day determines that's the highest and best use.
Yep.
Okay. So this will go, assuming this gets voted through, the Ministry of Mines will take a look at it as far as Cantex is concerned. We don't do any more, we just wait for them to come back to us. Is that how it works?
Yes, in effect, the property is turned over to Cantex for the next 20-year period.
Okay.
And so it's just like a regular long-term lease. They become the owner-operator, and part of that lease term is that they have to use their best endeavors to get that permit. And we'll be looking at the actual application, in particular the reclamation plan, before that plan's submitted.
Okay, so this will really supplement our taxes towards helping with infrastructure, which is a major move forward. All right. All those in favor? No one's opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Well done. Okay, we'll go straight then to bylaws. This is 9.1 bylaw 2014-027. This is a bylaw to amend solid waste management regulations. Who would like to address that? Is that Tom Day?
I think we missed some.
7.2.
7.3. 7.2.
7.3? No.
Two.
Oh, oh, oh.
Two, Brandon Inc.
I'm
sorry.
sorry, Laurie Coates, and that's the best part. It's your part. Sorry about that. Now, I was moving far too far ahead. So grants and aid.
Yes, thank you, Your
2015,
Worship.
if you just take us through that, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So the report you have in front of you tonight is the work of the committee that was struck as select committee at council to review all the applications that were received from groups in the community for grant and aid assistance from the District of Summerland for the 2015 budget year. So what we're asking from the council tonight is an affirmation of the recommendations of that committee. This item, of course, is a 2015 budget item, and so there won't be any further action on it until we're into our budget deliberations for 2015. And perhaps I could call on one of the members of the council to, yes,
Read it.
thank you.
Councillor Holquist, please.
Well, basically, the committee, which consisted of yourself and myself and Councillor Van Elfen, went over all the applications. And basically, it is the status quo, what we're bringing forward to for the 2015 budget. There's basically no increases. And so I would be pleased to put the motion on the floor that the council provide direction to staff on the request for grants and aid for the 2015 fiscal year as presented.
Seconder, thank you. Could I ask a question? The struggle, I was telling Laurie today, the struggle I'm having is we have sort of a variety of different uses of the funding. And the one thing that we learned this time more than any other time was these different organizations have different needs. And sometimes it's just to pay the salary of their full-time, part-time person. Sometimes it's just to cover their different administration costs. And I'm wondering why we don't just label administration, just to make it easier, because we've got everything from wages and travel, administration costs. It's a bit, it's all over the place, and I'm just wondering for conformity, if we should.
Your Worship, the information in the report came from the applications from the organizations.
Okay.
We asked them what they intended to use the funds for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we tell people when we put this out to them in the spring for the fall that they can apply for everything from administration costs to, do we say that to them?
We don't give them any guidance on that, Your Worship.
Okay.
In the application, it just asks that they
Give
tell
us
us what they're going to use the funds for.
Okay. Okay. Comments? Anything? Councillor Robson?
Question,
Sure.
Worship. How many were turned down?
So in the list here, you can see that no one was turned down in its entirety, no request in its entirety, but there were a few that were recommended at lower amounts than what the application had been for. So the Friends of the Summerland Ornamental Gardens had requested $10,000, and the decision of the committee was to leave that amount at $7,500, which was the same as they'd received in past years. The museum had asked for a $5,000 increase, and again, it was to leave it at the status quo of $35,000. The food bank actually reduced their request. They had received $20,000 in 2014, and they dropped their request to $15,000. You may recall that we had a presentation from Mr. John Bubb. And at that time, council suggested that they should be trying to be less dependent upon the funding from the district. So they obviously took that message to heart and came in with a lower request. The exhibition asked for $800 more. The recommendation again was status quo from the year before. And the Summerland Yacht Club asked for an $8,000 contribution to help offset the installation costs of their new pump-out system, and the committee is recommending a $4,000 grant to them.
That was a new one.
That was a new one, yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor.
Further to that now, I see there's very small amounts to local groups dispersed, and I see that that wasn't not applicable. And then you've got various small amounts to local groups approved but unallocated. I had a question today from a group that wanted some funding for signage on the Citizens on Patrol vehicle, and I said, you missed the grant and aid application, however, submit a letter.
Good.
Thank you.
Very small price tag.
Yes, it would be.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. I'm gonna, if you don't, are you okay for a moment? Counselor Christopherson and then Hulquist.
I'd just like to point out that the total amount of the grants for 2015 is $88,800, and this goes to organizations that way of giving financial support to nonprofit organizations which offer beneficial service to the citizens of Summerland. And it's, I guess it's a show of appreciation for the amount of work that they do and what they bring to Summerland.
Good point. Counselor Hulquist.
So I was just gonna make the point, when I said status quo, I was gonna make the point, I should clarify that, because there was the odd one that was up and the odd one that was
Yes.
down, but the net amount is the same, is the 88,800, just worked out that way. We weren't adding it up as we went along, but it happened to work out that way. But also further to your question, Councillor Robertson, there was, I believe, 3 or 4 requests over and above that don't show up here,
Yes.
that were applied for new funding, and we didn't feel it was appropriate, and those, I don't remember what the requests were for, and it doesn't really matter at this point, but those requests weren't granted.
I think the story should be told about the one in particular that very, very graciously asked us for a grant and aid so that they could turn around and give it out to charities.
Oh, right.
And we said no. We said no to that. It's the
Excuse me, Your
taxpayers'
Worship, but
money.
I believe we're talking about the permissive tax exemption requests that we reviewed at the same time.
Nope.
We had new ones in
No, there was
No,
those
no, there was-
categories.
there were 3 others that we turned down.
That we turned down. I don't remember
Yeah.
what they were off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but you're right on one of them.
There was one of them, and it was a very well-written letter.
I can tell you- well,
Good
it doesn't
request.
matter who it was.
It doesn't matter who it
No, it
was,
doesn't
but,
matter who it was.
but they were asking for money so that they could turn around and donate it back, which is a great idea, except that these are taxpayers' dollars, and
Right.
we're trying to sustain community groups, keep them going, and this is not appropriate to be given back out, so it was,
I think it says
thought it was
that in
good.
our rules
Yeah.
and regulations or whatever.
Yeah.
that
Yeah, it was
That's
good.
not really
okay.
proper.
Okay, Counselor Van Alphen and Counselor Waterman.
Thank you, Worship. Just under the small, various small amounts for local groups, there is the 6,000 is still available for people, ball teams, soccer
Signs.
teams, whatever, possibly signs,
Yep.
if they write a really good letter, like those, that funding's still there, and then generally we give out a $500 amount to sometime like sports teams that are going out of town or what have you to represent our community. And so that money's still there and available.
Well said, well said. Just before we go to Counselor Waterman, the Art Council, as far as the rent, where does that fit under?
Yes, Your Worship, the rent is actually just paid by the district, so it hasn't shown up in their application for a grant and aid.
Okay.
But the district is paying the rent for that location on Main Street.
Okay, good, thank you. Counselor Waterman.
I think sort of as part of my question, Your Worship.
You know, it's funny, I wondered, and
But
because I
actually,
know there was a concern because
the-
you've worked with that group.
Well, the rationale, I just wondered, they actually requested, what, 2,200 more than last year. What were they asking for that for? Is there any indication? It's just strictly wages and materials at the whole thing, was that?
I don't have the application in front of me
Yeah.
this evening, Councillor Waterman, but I could research that for you if you like.
Yeah, I mean, it says wages and materials, so that probably answers my question. It's just that,
My recollection is that's exactly what it was for.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Which we were absolutely fine with. It
Yeah,
was-
okay.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? The wish of council then, please. Counselor Van Alphen?
The council provide direction to staff on the requests. Oh, it's already moved?
Yeah, I moved.
Oh, you moved
Oh,
it.
I
I'll
apologize.
second
I
that.
apologize. Wow, I'm having trouble tonight.
It's not even
All
late.
right, so, and it's not even late. Anything else you want to add before we call it?
No, Your Worship.
All right, the wish of council. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. All right, we'll come back. Now, we're going to do the permissive, but we'll come back afterwards and do that later on as part of the next section, right? Under 9.2. So we'll
That's
come
correct,
back to
Your
that.
Worship.
All right, so let's go to 7.3. This is the perpetual slide on Canyon View Road. And who is going to take us through this? Don Darling, Director of Utility and Public Works. Good to
Hey,
have you.
Worship, there's a perpetual slide on Canyon View Road, and it's shown on the drawing on the TV screens. And generally, it's located between Simpson Road on the west, the Summerland Golf and Country Club on the east, and Canyon View Road to the north, and it actually extends slightly north of Canyon View Road. The area of the slide has been estimated from the GIS of approximately 14 hectares. And historical records indicate that this slide area has been creeping since 1917. So it's not moving at a very quick pace. But that being said, it does provide or does expose the district to risk in infrastructure, because there's infrastructure in the area, there's residential structures, and there's public safety that we're concerned about. It is one of these low-risk situations, but it is high consequence in that if it does fail, that it could be a catastrophic event. Some of the risks are the total failure of the slide. Trout Creek is located just below it. It is very narrow. If the slide gave away, it could block or dam Trout Creek. The water would build up behind. We wouldn't have any time to go in and do any action to open the area up. The water would build up behind. It would breach the dam, and flooding would happen down on Trout Creek, and it could possibly take out the Highway 97 bridge. As I mentioned, there is infrastructure. We have a 200 millimeter diameter water main in the area. If that were to break and we couldn't respond quickly, our concerns would be that materials under the slide would liquefy, which could increase movement and possibly cause failure as well. Damage to residential properties, there's one trailer on, well, you can't really see it on that drawing there. There's one trailer within the slide area, and there is one house to the north of the slide area that's within 20 meters, so it's extremely close to the slide. There's loss of business potential, where if the slide gave away, it does go through the third fairway and the third green of the Summerland Golf and Country Club. So their business, their golf course would be affected, plus the road access into the area would be affected. So, you know, it could have a big impact on the golf course there. Public safety, access, walking, people riding horses or walking on the property if it gave away. And then there's the damage to Canyon View Road, because there's no alternative access at this point in time. The Canyon View Road slippage was identified as a council objective for 2014-2015, and the recommendations of this report would fulfill that objective. We were planning to bring this forward to the 2015 budget deliberations, but we had two recent letters of concern, one from Summerland Golf and Country Club and one from an area resident, and that's not what's driving this, but it has been on our radar, and we just felt that it's prudent to move forward at this time. Staff met with the geotechnical engineer to get an idea of the scope of the investigation and the magnitude of costs to prepare the report. Items in the scope would be to meet with the residents and the Summerland Golf and Country Club, just basically to discuss potential issues or any structural damage they may have on their structures at this point in time. There's two previous reports that they would have to review. They would conduct borehole investigations along Canyon View Road, Shirk Street, and within the perpetual slide area to figure out what the subsurface gravel composition is and the extent of the slide. They would identify and map the extent of the perpetual slide area. Like I said, the boundary that we drew is just our best guess at this point in time, but they would identify it more accurately. We'd also install a survey grid. It would actually be a legal survey, and because of the accuracy that we would need, just for ongoing monitoring of the slide activity, so we'd be able to tell within millimeters of what it's doing at any point in time. And the report would provide recommendations for water main relocation, how far it has to be away from the slide area, and basically the best routing. It would have to be through, because there's no road access north of that, they would have to be through statutory right-of-ways. And they would provide a written report of their findings and recommendations, and also the rebuilding of the road structure, whether we can go in there with compaction equipment or whether it have to be static rolling or whatever, so that we don't go in there and cause any damage. Financial implications of this recommendation: Council approved $941,000 in 2014 from capital reserves for infrastructure improvements. Two projects were approved, one the Prairie Valley Road upgrade, which is nearing completion, and the second one being the Jubilee sidewalks, which is also nearing completion, and those totaled $445,000. As part of Prairie Valley Road, additional paving was done in a section of road that was showing a lot of failure, and there were intersection improvements that added $80,000 to that cost, so the total cost now is $524,000, which leaves $417,000 left in that overall budget. The cost of the site investigation The setting up of the monitoring grid in the report is estimated to be $40,000, which would leave $377,000 to be carried forward to 2015. We're recommending that staff proceed with retaining a geotechnical engineer, and the alternative to that would be that we delay the decision until 2015 budget deliberations.
We'll take some questions then, Councillor Christopherson and Councillor Van
Just a
Alphen.
question. If council decided to do nothing and a catastrophic slide occurred, would there be liability for the corporation?
I'm not a lawyer, so I wouldn't comment on that, but I wouldn't want to be in that position.
No, I realize that. So this is really an initiative to try to circumvent that.
Well, again,
It's
I don't,
urgent. Yeah, it's
I
urgent.
think, as our Director of Works and Utilities pointed out, that it's a real concern. And in fact, council pointed out the concern and identified
yes.
it as one of their priorities this year. And so, I mean, it's a community concern. And as Don pointed out, the worst case scenario is the slippage and blocking of Trout Creek. And so it is it's something that needs to be done. Council identified it needed to be done, and now we found the budget money. So we're just asking for council to continue with that objective they identified earlier.
So we're looking after the citizens' property rights, and I commend the Development Services for Don and his crew for bringing this forward.
Several golfers have obviously, made their concerns known about this, because they notice it every single time they go there, and there's no other road that would get there. But when you realize the possible catastrophic event that could happen, this needs to be addressed. Councillor, I apologize, Councillor Watt. Councillor Van Alphen, to start with.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Waterman, did you want
I'd like to put the staff recommendation on
Please,
the table.
thank you.
That council authorize staff to retain a geotechnical engineer to conduct a review of the perpetual slide on Canyon View Road at an estimated cost of $40,000, and that the cost of this review be paid out of the funds approved in the 2014 budget for infrastructure improvements.
Seconder, please. Thank you. Got a second? Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Van Alphen?
Well, this is something, like say, it's been sliding since
1917.
long before Bruce's time. And,
Just barely.
just barely, yeah. And like I say, the catastrophic effect of this, if it ever did slide and block Trout Creek, I don't want to even imagine the catastrophe that could create. I'm glad we're going, to monitor this and see how it is moving. And the big thing is there is, a large water main underneath, infrastructure underneath. So if things keep moving, if something ruptures, we could liquefy the ground underneath and create a problem. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's one of many infrastructure issues in our community, but this one is on the forefront for sure.
Councillor Hallquist.
I couldn't say it any better, Councillor Van Alphen. Thank you very much, and I am not that old, but I'm really happy to see us at least making a start on trying to do something about this problem that has been around this municipality for a long, long time.
Councillor Waterman.
Thank you, Worship. I guess since this was noted as part of our objective
Yeah.
for this year, I think it's advantageous that we move ahead now. But in addition to that, I think given that the slippage is certainly a little more obvious in the last several years, and I personally think it's a little more obvious even in the last year, but I think it's critical to be proactive. We need to move ahead quickly, and we need to be able to measure what's happening there, because I think if things are moving more quickly, it's accelerating a little bit over time, despite having started in 1917. It's something we need to keep an eye on,
Yeah.
close eye.
Councillor Robson.
My question would be to the Superintendent of Works. What cures are there for an issue of this nature? Is there pinning, or is there stabilization practices that are used on this type of slippage?
Your Worship, it depends on what's causing it. I would think that the main concern is probably, from what I've read, is water in the area. And so you'd have to have some kind of drainage. You put in piezometers and figure out how much water there is, and then figure out a way to get rid of the water out of the slide area. but until the investigation's done, I mean, I'm really not certain what can be done. I mean, if it's just soil, I'm not sure how well pinning would work. If it was stone, it would be a different thing, but from what I've read, it appears that it may be water in the area, and so it's just how to divert that water away from the slide area.
That is what the geotechnical review will show.
That's correct.
How long do you think it will take? Assuming this goes through tonight, how long do you think this will take?
I think it will be done before the end of the year.
Okay.
So,
I'll tell you, this is why we have to put money aside every single year for infrastructure. It's why we always have to plan for infrastructure costs and major infrastructure projects that are urgent. And, you know, if it isn't a dam, if it isn't a road, if it isn't something else, there are always issues with a community the size of ours. This is just part of the work that we have to do, and why we constantly stress that we have to use some of our taxes. We have to have ways of bringing in more income, and it's a good night to, you know, particularly with the gravel, at least we're doing something to help to pay for some of these major issues, and it's a good time that we're finally addressing this. So, good. Any final comments, Don? No?
No.
Tom? No? Call the question, then. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, now get us back on track. Those bylaws. All right, 2014-027, bylaw to amend the solid waste management regulation. Tom Day, did you wish to take that on, or did you wish? Don Darling, would you take us through that again? Just a very quick synopsis of this one. We've gone over it several times, but it's just for anyone who's just viewing it for the first time.
Yeah, Your Worship, the amendments are because we've had a problem or an issue with landfill shopping. The Regional District of Okanagan Similkameen raised their rates for solid waste, disposal of solid waste at their landfills. And so we've seen an increase of people bringing materials from outside Summerland to the Summerland landfill because the costs are cheaper, and we're trying to prevent that from happening. We have discussed it with the local haulers. We have given them notice. We are giving them additional notice this week. But the idea behind this is to give us some penalties, because there aren't any penalties right now in the solid waste management bylaw. And what the penalties will be is the first time that we catch a load, we're allowing 3% contamination in a load. And so if they are deemed to have more than 3%, the first offense will be double the tipping fees. The second offense within a 6-month period will be triple the tipping fees. And if they have 4 occurrences within a 12-month period, then the Director of Works and Utilities, which is myself, can ban them from the landfill for a period of 30 calendar days. And if we want to exceed that time frame, then we would have to come back to council. But it's a deterrent. We are going to be doing a review of the landfill fees and charges. We could have just raised the fees to match other areas, but we didn't think that was fair to local businesses until we do our review. So we're going to complete our review and determine whether increases are justified. And if they're not, then we may have to find other ways to deal with waste that's coming in from outside of Summerland. But the main one is the haulers bringing their materials in from outside of Summerland.
Okay, so we have reviewed this before. Councillor Christopherson.
As you just mentioned what I was going to say. It's not a simple matter of just raising the fees, because that could be penalizing our residents here. So we're looking after their welfare. We don't want to make it too high, because people could then just go out and dump in, on the way up or out in Falder. And so it's not just a simple matter. So we're trying to, and I commend staff for coming up with something like this, because we want to target who is responsible for it.
Do you want to put the motion on the table? 9.1.
Yeah, it's so moved, the bylaw 2014-027, a bylaw to amend solid waste management regulations, bylaw 2000-309, non-district waste. Recommend that bylaw, I'm sorry,
No, that's okay. Be read a second and third time.
yeah,
First, second.
to be read a
First,
second
second.
and third
I'm
time.
sorry,
Yeah,
first, second, and
First
third time.
time, yeah.
Okay. Seconder, please. Good, thank you. Any other comments? We have talked about this one at length. Okay. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next item is bylaw 2014-028, the bylaw for the purpose of granting permissive extension. Lori Coates, our Director of Finance.
Thank you, Your
Background.
Worship.
Thank you.
Again, the Select Committee of Council met and reviewed the applications for permissive tax exemptions for the 2015 calendar year. the the rules about this permissive tax exemption bylaw is that it must be adopted prior to October the 31st. So we are coming close to that date and have to complete our work. So the recommendation of the committee was that status quo again, the same as with grants and aid, that the organizations who had received permissive tax exemptions on the properties that they were granted in 2014 received those same permissive tax exemptions in 2015. At the back of the report, there is a complete listing of the dollar values of the permissive tax exemptions broken into categories where we have the churches and schools, the other nonprofit organizations, and then the new requests. There were a few new requests for permissive tax exemptions, and in addition to new ones, there were a couple of repeat requests from organizations that had asked for additional grants and aid, or sorry, permissive tax exemptions in 2014. They made those same requests again. So that was the Summerland Yacht Club requested an additional permissive tax exemption on a property that has assessment that is only for business use. As that property is not used in a not-for-profit activity, it would be inappropriate for council to grant a permissive tax exemption on it. The Summerland Golf Society also requested additional permissive tax exemptions for residential use and also business use, which again would be inappropriate for council to consider that request. And the Summerland Recreation Society had an additional request for the remainder of the property that has received a partial permissive tax exemption in past years, and they also added in 11 additional properties that are recreation and nonprofit use. So that request was denied in 2014, and they reapplied for 2015. We also had 3 new requests for 2015. The Summerland Recreation Society had missed a piece of property in their prior year submission, so they added that one in. The Summerland Kiwanis Housing Society requested full permissive tax exemption for a property where the use is residential, where they provide housing. And the Summerland Sportsmen Association requested on a property where the use is business other. So the committee has requested or has recommended that council take the status quo position from 2014. And I don't know if one of the committee.
Councillor Hallquist.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I'm glad I'm not the only one that would have a gray moment around this table.
I
Your
know.
worship.
I know exactly. I know exactly what you're going to say.
So I'd like to apologize to
Yeah, me
Lori
too.
for being for the
You
last
were
my
right.
last comments
That's
with
right.
regard to the 3 new, because
was
I
in
see
there.
the 3 new are actually, and you were correct, and I cut you
Yeah,
off. Sorry
no
about
problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Me too.
So, but I'm glad I'm not the only one. I thought maybe I was the only one, but you happen to agree with me, so you got caught too.
That's right.
So anyways, I think Lori summed it up very
Yep.
well, and.
Want to put it on the table?
And I would like to move the council give first 3 readings to bylaw 2014-028.
Okay,
the
seconder,
permissive-
please.
The permissive tax exemptions for 2015.
Seconder, good. Thank you. Any final comments, Councillor Hallquist?
No, I think Lori's covered it really well.
Good. Any other comments or questions or anything? Councillor Robson?
Just go over the financial implications for me, please, Lori. I think it's important.
Certainly. As we're doing this work for 2015 year, the actual tax rates and assessed values of the property are not known. So the information in the report's based on the 2014 information that we have. If the status quo is followed, there's no financial implication to the district other than what minor change there may be in assessed value or tax rates. So it basically is no impact to the budget. Any further requests that are granted, though, does decrease the amount of taxation revenue that the district will receive. And the amounts of that have been estimated and are included in the new request category. So should the council decide to grant some of the new requests from these organizations, the district could receive $22,193 less taxation revenue.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just have one myself, and I thought about this later. I don't see listed here anterior health.
So certain organizations or institutions have a statutory
It's under statute. Okay,
exemption,
good.
yes.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? No, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Laurie. Thank you. And thank you. It was good. All right, the next one is housekeeping, I understand. This is bylaw 2014-030. Ian McIntosh, our Director of Planning and Development, if you'd take us through that one, thank you.
Yes, Your Worship, this is a housekeeping amendment to our development cost charges bylaw, and there is a section in the Local Government Act that talks about exemptions for development cost charges, and local governments are allowed to adjust those exemptions if they wish. In Summerland's case, they did make an adjustment. The language is somewhat confusing, and so this bylaw amendment is to clarify the district's position with respect to exemptions.
Okay, in the wish of council. Councillor Van Elfen?
That bylaw 2014-030, development cost charge DCC amendment, small residential buildings, be read a first, second, and third time.
Seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Pretty straightforward. All right, all those in favor? No one's opposed. Motion's carried. Time for councillor reports. I think I'll start at Councillor Van Elfen's end of the
thank
table.
you.
Thank you.
Nothing's been really going on, no. It's been really hectic out there.
I know.
But anyways, I had the absolute privilege to attend the first mod run, the run for Ellen Lloyd down at the Racket Club. My wife and I were just so happy to go down there, and I know Councillor Robson was there also. Be honest, I did not run. I walked really well, but I don't run very good. But it was nice to be there, and nice to see the first inaugural, and hopefully it'll be an ongoing event for the community. And also was so graciously invited, myself and Councillor Robson, to Diwali at the Hindu temple in Trout Creek for their celebration. And it was just an absolute wonderful evening.
Always is. Yep.
And it always is. The food was fantastic, the company was incredible, and the fireworks, I'm telling you, they know how to put on fireworks. So it was a really delightful evening, and I was honored to go, and I sent your regards, Your Worship, that you couldn't make it, and they missed you very much, but we had a good time.
Good, good. Councillor Waterman?
Thank you, Worship. Two things to talk about this evening. In your stead last Friday, I
Thank you.
attended the new milestone for Summerland. Our transit service had was 1 year old, and that the CEO of BC Transit, Manuel Acadenia, was present. Pasadena? Okay. I should have asked you first. I thought I had it down. And as was our MLA Dan Ashton, Councillor Robson, and members of the Penticton Transit Committee were also there.
Good.
Now, it's just interesting to note that the ridership has reached 5 per hour, which apparently is a very good figure in the 1 year period. It's interesting to note that Ladysmith started up a similar sort of transit service a year ago, and they've reached 3. So we're roughly 30% higher than Ladysmith in the same time frame.
Superior.
So, you know, what I sort of liken it to is a dam, almost a dam of need there that basically was dealt with a service, and it just sort of exploded into a very good use pattern.
Yeah.
So I was really pleased that that's happening. And as a matter of fact, some of those trips to Penticton, the bus is actually almost full.
That's
So,
what I've heard too.
you know, it's and they're thinking of bringing a new bus into use called a vicinity bus, which will actually look like a real transit bus,
Wow.
and carries a few more people. So
That's good.
that may happen. They're distributing a few of those around the province.
Did you really pass out cookies at 7 a.m.?
I ate cookies.
I thought to myself, 7 a.m. cookies, I just don't think I could.
No, I don't. No, sorry, Your Worship, I don't. Somebody passed them out, but
And you
I
ate
didn't.
them.
Yeah, I'm usually the recipient of cookies.
Cruel
Okay,
man.
thank you. I have one other thing too,
Sure,
Your
you go ahead.
Worship. The South Okanagan Survivorship Dragon Boat team has just completed racing in the World Breast Cancer Festival in Sarasota, Florida. They placed second in the B division. Their times were fast. They were 10th out of 101 teams in
Wow.
attendance.
Wow.
And 7 of those team members are from Summerland, And the steers person happens to be my wife, so
Good.
she was able to keep them going in a straight line.
Good.
And,
Good, good,
no,
good.
they're just brimming because, they were wildly past their expectations of performance, so they just are having a great time, and they were really pleased with how well they did.
That's really good. And you'll pass on our best wishes to the team?
Yes, yes.
She's due home soon?
She left this morning for a short Caribbean cruise.
Oh.
For
that's a
5
tough life.
days.
She's really going to miss you.
I don't think so. I'm not sure that she really has missed me at all over the 2.5 weeks. But I got to do a big cleaning job Friday.
Before she comes home, that's right.
Yeah.
Give her our best, okay? Yeah, that's right. All right, Councillor Robson.
Has been busy, Your Worship, I have to say. The mod run on the 18th of October, fun trip. I did run, jogged.
Did ya?
It's the
Way to go.
first jogging I've done in a long time. But I did the 1 kilometer, and I did it in 8 minutes and 20 seconds.
Wow.
Which
You
in my-
show off.
Yeah.
Because you got long legs, that's all.
minutes.
I
Wow.
only did the 1 kilometer.
Way to go.
There was
Way
a
to go.
3 and a 5 as well.
I did that walking.
Oh, that was cruel.
I got to give credit to the organizers. They did a great job. Jim Lloyd was there with his son Warren, and they were really pleased with the whole show. Excellent show, and also the blood donor nurses were there and took names down for those that want to contribute blood, which I'm doing as well on the I think it's the 3rd of November. But anyway, those were some of the things that transpired that day, and it was just great. I think there was over 100 runners, so it was a good start to a new venture.
new venture,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Legion opening at the kitchen.
Yeah, thank you for being there.
Yeah,
that was
John
nice.
Dorn,
Yeah.
thank you for including us. That was very good. We had a good turnout from
Yep.
our representatives of the constituency. MP was there, and our MLA, and yourself, Worshipful Mayor. So it was very nice, and they can do some great stuff there, and hopefully it'll work out and be a good asset to the Legion in the future.
Yeah.
The bus, first year, like Councillor Hall,
People
it's
get us mixed up.
Waterman.
People get us mixed up all the time. I don't know how.
You should get to
Councillor
know each
Waterman
other.
indicated. I didn't get to go on the trip because I had to do the
You had to
walk
do the
for
polio, yes.
I have a picture of you
Yeah.
doing
Yes,
that.
walk for
Yeah, the walk
polio.
for
I
polio,
did that
yes,
with
I
for
heard
the
about that.
Rotary Club. We did that as well. And then another thing I wanted to mention about the Rotary Club, the Philippines, a group of our Rotarians were over there last week, or for the last 2 weeks, doing a rotoplast operations on children with cleft palates. They did, I think, 75 children. Just a phenomenal amount, and the work was just amazing. So you can check online. There's a blog, I think Ellen Walker put a blog out, so you can check that out.
Diwali on Saturday.
Diwali on Saturday, which was very
Good food.
rewarding as well. Great food.
Yeah.
All vegetarian, of course, which I'm not, but I did eat it, and it was good, and actually very good. So
Yeah,
it was
well
just
done.
a nice time.
Good, thank you so much, Councillor Christopherson.
I did not participate in the mod run because as a cancer survivor, I have gone in for tests, and tomorrow morning I get the results, and if it is clear, then I will be signing up for blood donations.
Good.
This
Good.
is one way that you don't even have to participate in the run.
Yeah.
I don't run anymore, I do a lot of walking, but there are other ways that you can contribute in memory of Ellen Maud Lloyd.
Oh, absolutely,
Well said.
absolutely. You know, we do, I don't know if people realize this, but we do as many chemotherapy treatments in Penticton, at the Penticton Regional Hospital, as they do at Kelowna. You know, this is a very big operation, so it's, yeah, it's something else. Is that it for you?
Yes.
Councillor Hacking.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had the pleasure of attending the monthly meeting of the Chamber on the 16th, and they have their biggest event of the year coming up, and I just want to pound that for a bit.
Good point.
Friday, November 28th is the 27th annual Light Up. Theme this year is Christmas Rocks. They are heavy into their planning process right now. You'll start seeing posters up on November 3rd, but what I want to encourage is if there's any business members or volunteers who want to become involved as sponsors or as volunteers to man traffic control and such, please contact Christine at the chamber. They love volunteers, and they need them.
Sophia's here. Good, good. Anything else?
That is all for this
Thank
evening.
you so much, Councillor Hallquist.
I'll make it real easy. I don't have anything to report.
Okay, all right. The wish of council to adjourn the meeting, please.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor? Meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you so much. We still have several people here. Would anyone like to speak at the end? Just before you do, John, I'm just going to ask our media if they have any questions. Susan, do you have any questions, John? You know we're here anyway. John, go ahead. I think,
John Dorn, 5703.
actually, we don't record the final comments afterwards, so.
Okay.
But it's nice just for those in the room to know who you are.
Speaking on behalf of the Legion, I'd like to thank council for approving a permissive tax exemption for the Legion.
Thank you.
Just like to point out that we first got a tax exemption for the Legion when it was pretty dark days. During the recession, coming out of the recession and the roadside prohibition, the Legion was in pretty tough times. And thanks in part to the tax exemption, we've turned the corner and now have a shiny new kitchen with magic ovens so that
Yes.
we can offer all sorts of different meals on short notice. But the real reason I'm here is we're starting the Poppy campaign, and the protocol for the Legion is that we give the first poppy to the Governor General on this Wednesday morning, then the Lieutenant Governor, and then we are presenting the first poppy to Mayor Perino on Thursday at 3 p.m. And poppies will be available to the general public on Friday the 31st. So we ask the public not to wear their poppies until after the first poppy has been presented to the mayor.
Well said.
Okay, thank you so
Well said.
much.
And don't forget, too, you got the 500 for Canada Day as well. We made sure that went through as part of a grant and aid. So
Yeah, we thank you for
you're
the
hooked into
500
doing
for
the.
Canada Day.
Yeah, you
and-
got to do it now.
And on behalf of the Summerland Youth Center Association,
Oh, yes,
I might
that's
as
right,
well
too.
thank you for the grant and aid for them as well. Thanks.
I didn't want you to let go on the Canada Day. You've got to do that, too. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Great to see a couple of candidates here, 3 candidates, I should say. Great to see you here and learning what goes on. And I mean, we think it's riveting, so we hope you do as well. All right. Good night, everyone. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.